The bus jolted to a start, its engine grumbling as it crawled out of the terminal. The late afternoon sunlight filtered through the dusty windows, bathing the interior in a golden hue. Seated on the right-hand side near the middle of the bus, Ravi adjusted his backpack and glanced sideways at the man who had just taken the seat beside him. The man looked to be in his late 50s, his face weathered but kind. Dressed in a faded gray shirt and carrying a small duffel bag, he settled into the seat with a slight groan, as if the weight of the day, or perhaps life itself, rested heavily on him. Ravi offered a polite nod, and the man returned it with a faint smile. The bus picked up speed, and soon the hum of the engine and the occasional honk from passing vehicles became the soundtrack to their journey. Ravi, not one for small talk, turned his attention to the scenery outside. Fields of green stretched endlessly, punctuated by the occasional cluster of houses or a lone tree standing tall against the horizon. After a few minutes of silence, the man beside him spoke, his voice rich and deep.
Long journey ahead?
Ravi turned to him, slightly surprised.
About 4 hours, you?
Same. Heading to Ashapur.
The man leaned back, adjusting the strap of his bag. Name's Shankar,
Ravi?
he replied, shaking the man's calloused hand.
Ashapur too.
Shankar nodded.
Visiting my daughter. It's been a while.
That's nice.
Ravi said, offering a genuine smile.
Family time is important.
Shankar chuckled softly, a sound tinged with nostalgia.
It is. Though you never realize how much until life teaches you a thing or two.
Intrigued, Ravi leaned slightly closer.
What do you mean?
Shankar hesitated, his eyes fixed on the road ahead, as if weighing his words. After a moment, he began.
You see, I wasn't always the man sitting on a bus to visit his daughter. 10 years ago, I was a completely different person. Busy, ambitious, and far too preoccupied with myself.
Ravi listened intently, sensing there was more to the story.
I was a businessman.
Shankar continued. His voice was steady but reflective.
Owned a chain of small hardware stores. Spent my days chasing profits and expanding the business. I'd leave home before sunrise and return long after sunset. My wife, Meena, managed the house, and my daughter, Priya, well, she grew up without much of me around.
Shankar paused, a shadow passing over his face.
I thought I was doing it for them, for a better future. But the truth was, I was more interested in building something for myself, a legacy, I suppose.
Ravi nodded, his curiosity deepening.
What changed?
Shankar sighed, his fingers tapping lightly on the armrest.
It was a phone call. One evening, while I was at a business meeting, I got a call from Priya's school. She was 10 at the time. They said she'd fainted during her dance rehearsal.
Ravi's brow furrowed.
Fainted? Was she okay?
Physically, yes.
Shankar said, his voice heavy with regret.
But the fainting was just the tip of the iceberg. When I rushed to the hospital, Meena was already there. The doctor told us Priya had been under a lot of stress, pressure from school, dance classes, and a lack of emotional support at home. She'd been trying so hard to please everyone, especially me, that it broke her.
Ravi felt a pang in his chest.
That must have been hard to hear.
It was like someone slapped me awake.
Shankar admitted.
Here I was thinking I was doing everything for my family, but in reality I'd been absent from their lives. Priya needed a father, not a provider. Meena needed a partner, not someone who treated her like a house manager.
He paused, looking out the window, as the fields blurred past.
That night I made a decision. I started scaling back my business, closed a few stores, delegated more responsibilities, and made sure I was home by dinner every day. It wasn't easy, letting go of something I'd built from scratch, but it was necessary.
Ravi nodded, admiration evident in his expression.
And did things get better?
They did.
Shankar said, a small smile playing on his lips.
Slowly but surely. Priya and I started spending more time together, reading, playing games, or just talking. Meena and I, well, we found each other again. And you know what? I didn't lose as much as I feared. The business kept running, and I found joy in the simple things I'd ignored for years.
He turned to Ravi, his eyes earnest.
Life has a way of teaching you what truly matters. For me, it was realizing that success means nothing if you have no one to share it with.
Ravi nodded, the weight of Shankar's words settling over him. They fell into a companionable silence, each lost in their thoughts. as the bus continued its journey. By the time they reached Ashapur, the sun had set, and the bus pulled into the dimly lit station. Ravi gathered his belongings and turned to Shankar.
It was nice talking to you. Thanks for sharing your story.
Shankar smiled, his eyes warm.
Likewise, Ravi. Take care of yourself and your family.
As they parted ways, Ravi couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the chance encounter. Shankar's story was more than just a tale. It was a reminder of the things that truly mattered.